Vanessa, I'm sorry. No, it is a problem. I'm sorry. I knew I should have written this down. So let me start again. Strike that, reverse it. We'll start it again. Okay, thank you. So Jeremiah and Vanessa Gamble are no strangers to us here at WMI. I think it was about 4 years ago was your last time here at WMI. And they came and led the drama track for 4 consecutive years. Twice at Craggs and twice here. So, and they've performed for us before. So a lot of us know what we're in for. And we're kind of excited they're here because it's welcoming family back to us. So we're pleased you're with us. They've written this whole show themselves. There's 2 of them in it. They wrote the music. They wrote the book. Everything. And they have many shows. And after, if you enjoy what you hear, they have some things that you can buy and take home with you as well. Is that correct? Yes, good. All right. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome Theatre for the Thirsty performing the Psalm King?
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Psalms, such words of beauty and grace. One can only imagine that the writer must have been a great poet, a graceful philosopher, a mighty king. Or maybe he was just a shepherd. David, son of Jesse, pretty handsome kid, more short than tall, not nearly as intimidating as his brothers, and not nearly as focused. But God didn't see him the way his brothers saw him. God doesn't look at the outside stuff that we look at. God saw his heart. And so the old wise prophet Samuel, in the presence of David's older, better brothers, anointed David. Arise, David, son of Jesse. And he poured oil over his head to set him apart as God's chosen king over Israel.
King? For real?
Yes, someday. And God's Spirit filled David's heart. And it's a good thing because David's going to need it.
The Lord is my shepherd. I will not want for anything, for he is my shepherd. And I will dwell in his house forever and ever, for he is my shepherd.
Now, David may have been anointed as king over Israel, but Israel already had a king, their first, Saul, son of Kish. Now, Saul was an impressive man. He stood a head taller than anyone else in all of Israel. Saul here is sporting kingly yet casual attire, comfortable enough for the working man, refined and sophisticated to maintain the royal image, yet sporty and breathable for daily skirmishes. The people looked up to Saul, literally, and they looked to him for strength and for leadership. This whole king thing seemed to be working out pretty well. Under Saul's tall leadership, they began to rough up some of their pesky enemies until one day, when King Saul and all of Israel met their match. Goliath of Gath. Oh, ho, 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 no.
What are we going to do? Mommy. I'm not going to go out there. He's huge. Well, because I'm the king and I said so. Well, I got to send somebody. Sure. Send the kid. It's his funeral. Good luck, sport.
And so without any armor or giant fighting experience, David the teenage warrior responded to Goliath's challenge.
Lord be with me. Hey, you! I don't care if you have a sword. A really, really big sword. I come in the name of the Lord, the God of the armies of Israel, and you've ticked him off. The Lord will show everyone here that I don't need a sword, I don't need a spear. All I need is him. The battle is his. gonna take you down. I've got a sling in my pocket and the Lord in my heart. Well, I can see that you're 10 feet tall, could probably tear me apart. But there's a sling in my left hand and a stone in my right. And I'm standing on the solid rock. It's by his power that I fight. Then the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel.
And just like that, Goliath was dead.
There is a God in Israel. There is a God in Israel. There is a God in Israel. There is a God in Israel.
And all of Israel rejoiced. The Philistines were routed in battle, their big bad giant fallen by a puny shepherd. Well, Saul wasted very little time in making David a member of his royal court. Smart political move. And on top of that, he made him a bigwig in his army. Saul practically adopted David as his son. David had success in everything that he did.
Ready? Yes.
The people loved to cheer on the troops as they marched in from their lopsided victories. They sang in praise of their valiant heroes.
We're back.
Saul is a man of great power.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He stands as tall as any tower.
6'7" to be exact, but who's counting?
He's handsome and brave, and our lives he does save. And for the most part, all of our enemies cower.
Just a big giant, that's all. The Philistine situation is all under control.
Saul is a man of great depth. He's killed his thousands, and yet now David's a man of great strength. He's killed 10,000 just today.
Giant.
He slew that man Goliath when nobody else would try it. The Lord is upon him, I'd say. And David's a man of great honor. He has success wherever he goes. Because he started at the bottom, now he's leader over thousands. This man is the hero of heroes. And all the ladies cry,
David, save us from the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Jebusites, the Arameans, and Moabites. Gibeonites.
And David's a man of great passion. There's no one like him in all of the land. 'Cause now the Philistines are cowering the first time in a long, long time. That's why he's our number one man. I said that's why he's our number one man. That's why he's Israel's number one man. And all the ladies cry,
David, save us from the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Jebusites, the Arameans, and Moabites. Gibeonites, the Edomites, the Amalekites, the Syrians, the Zobites, the Parasites, the flying kites, the men in tights. Saul slain his thousands, David slain his 10,000. Saul slain his thousands, David slain his 10,000. Saul slain his thousands, David slain his 10,000. Saul, David.
well, for some reason, the king started to grow jealous of David. And Saul's beloved children didn't help matters much. In fact, they were the biggest David fans of all. Saul's oldest son, Jonathan, liked David far more than he liked dear old dad, and Saul's daughter, Michal, jumped at the chance to marry David, Israel's most eligible bachelor. Well, Saul's jealousy began to overwhelm him to the point that he could hardly sleep. Ironically enough, the only remedy for his sleepless nights was to have David tuck him in with a bedtime song. Among David's many enviable talents, he was a great musician. So, without David's music, there would be no sleep, just tossing and turning and shouting at the shadows in the corner of the room. Saul was basically going crazy. David's music was the only thing that brought peace, something that was very foreign to the king's life.
It could be this bed!
Well, the music only helped for a short time, and one night Saul kindly asked David to...
Stop playing or I'll pin you to the wall!
And he hurled a spear at David's head.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Come back! I'll be nice!
Luckily, the sleep-deprived Saul missed. Afraid for his life, David escaped the king's court and fled far away to the village of Ramah.
Lord, what's going on? The king just tried to kill me. You're anointed. What am I going to do? Deliver me, Lord. Protect me. I don't need a lot. I don't need to live in a king's court. Well, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening anyway. I don't need riches. I don't need fame. I just need you. Can I dwell in your house? I don't even have a home. Lord, I just want to be in your presence and stare at your beauty forever.
One thing I desire is to gaze on the beauty of God. One thing that I ask is to live in your house my whole life long. That's the only quiet place that you will hide me, and I will shout for joy. I will make music to you. I will make beautiful music to you, my Lord. One thing that I'll do is to seek your face my whole life through. You have always been there for me. You will always take care of me, and I will shout for joy. I will make music to you. I will make beautiful music to you, my Lord. Wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord, I say. Be strong, take heart. Wait on him.
I will see your goodness, Lord, in my lifetime. I believe I'm going to see your goodness in this land. So I'll wait. I'll be waiting.
Jonathan, I mentioned him before. David's closest friend. He was pretty sure that his father had cooled off a bit and that David could return home safely, so he devised a plan to figure out just what was going on inside the king's head. David,
Jonathan.
tomorrow is the New Moon Festival. Go to our hangout spot in the field and hide by the rock. When my father sees that you're not at the table, he'll react. Hopefully by his reaction, we'll know what he's thinking, but you know my dad. The next day, I'll come to the field. I'll shoot 3 arrows near the rock.
Wait a minute,
Don't
you're
worry,
a terrible shot.
I'm a good shot. Anyway, I'll send someone to go fetch them. If I say to them, the arrows are on this side of you, then everything is okay, and as surely as the Lord lives, you'll be totally safe. But if I say go further, the arrows are beyond you, then that means your life is in danger, and you're going to have to disappear, my friend.
Oh, Jonathan, my one true friend, better brother to me than any of my meat-headed relatives. Gentle Jonathan, it's a wonder you related to your own father. How many times I've smiled in your company. This sword is like having him by my side. It's his, after all, the very one he used to dispatch 20 Philistines after climbing the sheer cliffs of Boses. Jonathan and his scrawny armor-bearer. I wish I could have seen it.
We routed that entire Philistine army.
Jonathan and I, we fought many battles side by side.
We've been in glorious battles, real and imagined. Some of the greatest imaginary battles took place in this very field.
Our siege against the Philistine fortress made entirely out of impenetrable diamond.
The army of bear people.
Or the fire-breathing prophets of Baal.
Now, they proved to be quite a match. Sometimes we sing in battle.
Jonathan's not what you would call a naturally talented singer. His pitch wanders like a wide-eyed sheep. But I know God delights in his music.
The Philistines have grown to hate it. Oh, they laughed at first.
Look, they'd say, Israel, God's chosen people, sends musicians to fight us.
What, will they make our ears bleed with their woeful melodies? Perhaps they will hit us over the head with a lute, or poke out our eyes with a wooden flute.
Yeah, you have to give him credit. That's pretty witty for a Philistine.
And while they were double laughing, we would put an end to their music-listening days.
It's to the point where all an Israeli soldier has to do is squeak out a few notes of a tune, and the Philistines begin to run like lizards.
Instead of making musicians into warriors, we made our warriors into musicians.
Oh, Jonathan. This belt is his, this robe is his. I guess I'd be naked right now if it weren't for his generosity. He should hate me, he really should.
My own father had practically adopted him.
Now we're in competition for the throne. I don't want the throne!
I want my friend.
He would do anything for me.
And
And I for him.
for him. Go further. The arrows are beyond you. Go in peace, my friend. Remember our covenant.
Jonathan, nothing will ever come between us. Surely as the Lord lives. The Lord is my shepherd. I will not want for anything, for he is my shepherd. And I will dwell in his house forever and ever, for he is my shepherd. He will lead me on through the valley of shadows, wash away my fear and comfort me. The Lord is my shepherd, I will not want for anything, for he is my shepherd. And I will dwell in his house forever and ever, for he is my shepherd.
And so David fled to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. Ahimelech fed David and his men, and also gave him Goliath's sword. Then David escaped to the enemy territory of the Philistines, to Achish, king of Gath. Now, David was afraid that the Philistines might recognize him because of the whole killing Goliath thing, so he pretended to be insane, of course. Then he left Gath, stopped pretending to be insane, and escaped to the cave of Adullam. His family met him there, along with many outcasts, lowlifes, people running from the law, people in debt.
Nice to meet you. Nice to have you on board.
Concerned for his family's safety, he dropped his parents off at Moab.
Hi, Mom. Bye, Dad.
Then off to the forest and Hereth of Judah, over there. Then he met up with his band of some 600 outcasts and battled the Philistines at Keilah. Now Saul heard about the battle and began to pursue David. So David fled to the desert of Maon, just north of Eshtemoa and east of Judah. Then to the strongholds of En-Gedi, where David had the opportunity to kill Saul as Saul was freshening up in a cave. But David spared his life and fled back to Maon. Then he met and married a smart and lovely woman named Abigail. La 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 la. And once again, Saul pursued David. And once again, David had the opportunity to kill Saul and did not. Tired of fleeing from Saul, David escaped back to the enemy territory of the Philistines to Achish, king of Gath. This time he did not pretend to be insane. Instead, he befriended the Philistines and gained their trust.
Hi, I'm David.
How you doing? In turn, they gave him his very own city, which was soon after burned, raided, and plundered by a group of Amalekites. So after many hard years of exile, finding it, all of this running around, David was just about at the end of his rope.
I have the king of Israel after my head. I'm constantly battling Philistines. And all the wretched Amalekites, they've taken everything. My own men are ready to desert me or kill me. Oh, get a hold of yourself, David. Okay, I need to pray. Oh, Lord, hear my prayer. Deliver me and rescue me. Shelter me, don't abandon me, and save me from my enemies. Those snarling dogs have all surrounded me. Just make them scatter, send some lightning. Break the teeth in their mouths, oh God. Tear them out, those big fangs they've got. Chop off all their wicked, flattering lips, and cut out every slimy, boastful tongue. Turn them into gooey, slithering slugs that melt away in the burning sun. Oh Lord, hear my prayer. Deliver me and rescue me. Shelter me, don't abandon me, and save me from my enemies. On their heads rain down some fiery coals. Burning sulfur, let it fill their nose. Beat them down into a dusty pulp and spew them out into the roads like mud. Break the arm of the wicked men. With arrows shoot them in their hind end. Let death throw 'em a big surprise party and drag 'em to the grave alive. Oh Lord, hear my prayer. Deliver me and rescue me. Shelter me, don't abandon me, and save me from my enemies.
How long, oh Lord, have you forgotten me? How long will you hide How long, oh Lord, must I wrestle with these thoughts as my heart breaks every day? And how many times do you think they'll win today? Listen to my pleading, oh my God. Give light to my eyes, lest I fall fast asleep, lest I fall on my face, and they laugh at me again, and again, and again, and again. For so long, oh Lord, I've known your mercy. And I will rejoice in your salvation. Oh, and I will sing, for the Lord is good to me. Oh, oh. There was a huge battle between the Philistines and the Israelites. The fighting grew fierce around King Saul, and he and his sons were killed. David heard the news. His heart mourned the death of his friend Jonathan. He even grieved over the king. Even after all those years of Saul trying to kill him, David still honored him. Saul had been God's anointed after all. So after 10 hard years of exile, fighting, running, and hiding, David was finally free. You're free?
I don't really feel like it.
About this time, Israel was in turmoil. The southern kingdom of Judah made David their king and fought to convince the northern kingdom and all of Saul's heirs to jump on the bandwagon. The nation was divided. But after 7 years of civil war, all of Israel rallied behind David, and David, son of Jesse, was finally crowned king of Israel.
The Lord is my shepherd, I will not want for anything, for he is my shepherd, and I will dwell in his house forever and ever, for he is my shepherd. He anoints my head with the oil of his presence. My cup overflows with his love.
Lord, I can't be a king. I'm not ready yet. I grew up on a farm. I've been living in the wilderness. I can't lead all these people.
David, just be their shepherd. Lead them and guide them. You know how to care for sheep. Protect my people Israel and shield them from their enemies. For you are their shepherd king.
So people call me king. And a king I am. But every day I wake up and I say, I'm a shepherd. I'm shepherding. That's all this is.
Well, the Lord made David a mighty king. He defeated every enemy he came against. He had the Philistines on their heels. There was, however, one city that no one dared touch, Jerusalem.
Oh, yeah? We'll see about that.
Now this city was filled with ugly, scary Jebusite bullies. Har!
Yikes.
The walls of Jerusalem alone were enough to discourage an entire army, but in traditional David fashion, he waltzed up to the walled city of Jerusalem and completely wiped it out. How does he do that? He then turned it into Israel's new capital city, dubbed appropriately enough.
The city of David.
How creative. So they got to work building new roads and battlements, making new houses and impressive structures. But David's heart was set on one thing, making a place for the presence of God, the Ark of the Covenant. David was bringing the Ark back to Israel.
Lift up your heads, O you gates. Lift them up, you ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty, mighty in battle. Who is this King of glory?
The
Lord Almighty. He is the King of glory.
And so the Ark of the Covenant was back in Israel, and with it came God's blessing. The Lord gave David victory wherever he went. He defeated the Edomites and the Moabites and the Philistines and the Amalekites. He lived in an incredible palace made of gold and cedar. Nations paid him tribute. There was nothing he could not have. He was famous.
Famous. Who would have thought? It's hard to take all of this in. What more could I want? I see a valley, a lush, fertile valley, with dew on the ripened fruit. Misty, charming valley, lovely, haunting valley, your fruit is not mine to eat, but to taste, but to touch. Oh, I feel so much. I could have, almost taste. I could reach just a touch. Misty, charming valley, lovely, haunting valley, your fruit is ripe to eat, but to taste, but to touch. Oh, I feel so much. I must have, I must taste. I'm a king, no need to wait.
Two men lived in a certain little village. They knew each other. They weren't close friends or anything, but they were very different from one another. One man lived in a big house sitting on a lush, fertile piece of land. He had more sheep and cattle than he knew what to do with. He was, needless to say, a pretty rich guy. The other man was not so much. He and his cute little family lived on a goatskin tent on basically a pile of dirt. But their pride and joy was a little lamb they had bought by saving up several months' wages. Now, this lamb wasn't treated like your average livestock. They raised it, they fed it right from the table, drank from their cups. They even left a little spot at the edge of the bed for it to sleep with the cramped but cozy family. It was like one of the family. Well, one day, this traveler shows up. And he had developed quite an appetite on his long, dusty journey, and just his luck, he happened upon the magnificent homestead of the rich man. He had noticed all of those tasty-looking sheep fed and bred to plump perfection. So the stranger asked, "I hope you don't mind my saying, but you look pretty well off. Would it put you out if, could I eat over?" Well, the rich man agreed to host the meal. But instead of sacrificing one of his own sheep, he sent one of his servants across town to the dusty hillside to take the lamb that belonged to the poor man and his family, the one in the goatskin tent. And so the rich man stole the poor man's lamb and prepared a feast for himself and for the stranger.
What? How could he do such a thing? That man must pay at least 4 times what the lamb was worth. He deserves to die, as God is my witness.
This man is you, David. You. This is what the Lord says. I made you king out of nothing. I delivered you from Saul and from all of your enemies. I gave you his kingdom. This entire kingdom I handed over to you. And if that would have been too little, I would have given you more. David, I would have given you so much more. Why have you done this wicked thing? You have killed an innocent man and taken his wife as your own? Because of this, the sword will never depart from your household, and your family will cause you so much pain. David, it didn't have to be like this. I would have given you so much more.
Oh God, have mercy on me. I know you're merciful. I've done horrible things. You probably can't even look at me. Give me your judgment. I deserve whatever you have for me. I was born rotten. Cleanse me, God. Only you can make me clean. Whiter than snow. Give me a new heart, a clean, pure heart, and a new spirit, steady and strong. Don't leave me, Lord. You can't leave me. Don't cast me from your presence. Restore me with the joy of your salvation. I've known that joy. Fill me with your spirit. Then I will go out and tell people your ways. I'll shout it till they come running back to you. Oh. Save me, God. What have I done? I've killed an innocent man and taken his wife as my own. Save me. You are the God who saves. Then I will sing of your righteousness. Just open my lips and you will hear praise. I would bring 1,000 sacrifices and offerings. But I know that's not what you want. A broken and humbled heart. That is what you desire. And that is all I can bring. Please, Lord, let Zion prosper. Build up the walls of Jerusalem. Then we will bring righteous sacrifices and offerings to please you. I want to please you.
David, there's something that I need
I
to...
have sinned against the Lord.
The Lord has taken away your sins. But David, the consequences for what you have done for your child.
My family, my son.
The child born to you in Bathsheba, he's very ill.
My son.
David fasted and pleaded with the Lord for the life of his newborn child. He refused to eat or sleep, and he spent the night Edomites on the ground.
The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your gentle shade, so the sun cannot harm you by day, nor the moon by night, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from harm. He will watch over your soul. He will watch over all your comings and goings, both now and forever. Both now and forevermore. And He won't let you fall. He who watches over you won't sleep. Indeed, He who watches over all of Israel does not slumber, nor does He sleep.
On the seventh day, the child died.
Baby, open up your eyes to the hills. Where does your help come from? Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and of earth. The maker of heaven and earth.
David ended his fast. He washed, changed his clothes, went into the house of the Lord, and worshipped.
I can't bring him back. But one day I will be with him.
And we will dwell in your house forever and ever.
Lord, I just want to be in your presence. That's all I've ever really wanted. Sometimes I forget. Please forgive me. Without you, I'm nothing. I just want to be in your house, even if for just one day. A house. Let me build you one that's fitting. This is a tent. I live in a palace, and you live in a tent. Lord, that's not right. Let me build you a beautiful house.
Go and tell my servant David that I instead will build him a house. For I have taken him from the fields, and I will make his name like the greatest name on earth. For this is what the Lord says, you, David, when your days are done, from your
family, that you have brought us this far. Who am I, oh Lord, that you would look on me as if I were the most exalted of men? How lovely is your house to dwell in. Who's like you, Lord? There's no one above you. There is no one beside you. You alone are God. You've given your promise, and I will bless your name forever. Your name is the greatest name on earth. Your name is the greatest name on earth.
Lord, your kingdom will be established.
Your name will be honored.
Lord, your kingdom will be established.
Your name will be honored.
Lord, your kingdom will be established.
Your name will be honored.
Lord, your kingdom will be established forever. The Lord is my shepherd. I will not want for anything, for he is my shepherd. And I will dwell in his house forever and ever, for he is my shepherd. And I will dwell in your house forever and ever, for you are my shepherd.
And I will dwell in your house forever and ever. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be back at WMI. It is the place to be, after all. And we cannot say that, of course, in our household without our kids going clap, 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 clap. Greetings from the Gamble family. Our daughters Phoenicia, Eden, and our son Obadiah have loved WMI. They're back at home doing all the things that teenagers and 10-year-olds do during the summertime. And Vanessa and I are so glad to be back here. And we love doing what we do. We call our theater ministry Theater for the Thirsty because we believe that everybody on the face of this earth is hungry and thirsty for real life, and we believe that real life is found in Jesus. And that's why we tell these stories. That's why we do what we do, and we absolutely
That's why
love
he
doing it.
acts crazy sometimes.
That's true. That's true. And we do want to let you know, we do have some DVDs and CDs of the stories that we tell and have been telling for 20 years. So we do have some available that we brought tucked away in our suitcase. And the Psalm King, which you just heard, is on CD. So that is the music to the soundtrack to the show you just saw. We also have a CD. Other CD? Sure. So I do storytelling as well. So these are redemptive Dr. Seuss type stories and rhyming tales. And this is an audiobook CD of original tales that I tell. So great for school-age kids. And then Vanessa's a singer-songwriter. So if you enjoy her voice as much as I do, you'll love that CD. We have some other musicals as well based on Bible stories. This is our Christmas musical based on the Luke 2 account called A Misfit Christmas. This is our musical comedy on the story of Daniel, because the Old Testament is just filled with musical comedy.
I knew this was coming.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
The theme of that song,
That's
if
right.
you've never
That-
seen it.
And also the story of Esther as well as a musical comedy. So all those will be back at our little table back by the sound booth. Also, this is
Oh,
a
yes.
newer one as well. So Vanessa and I have another theater company called Bucket Brigade based in our hometown of St. Paul, Minnesota, where we do 2 large productions a year. We hire other professional actors and put on 2 big stage productions a year. And we wrote a Prohibition-era Americana musical loosely based on the story of Samson. Makes sense, doesn't it? So, so it's an
But
American.
guys, the Bible is filled with musical theater.
That's
Who
right.
knew?
Who knew? So it's a bluegrass Americana musical, and it's called Sam's Son.
It's a lot of fun.
And so that's that CD right there.
Yes.
So please come say hi to us. Also, we're going to be back tomorrow morning. I'm going to be telling a story. We're also going to be working with the drama students, and that's right.
Awesome.
So, but we're going to take a few minutes right now to field any questions that you might have about what we do, how we got started, any other sorts of questions at all. Speak
And
up.
we do write all of our own things, just to let you guys know that. So normally, just the basics is he writes the scripts, and then a lot of
And-
times he writes the lyrics, and then I write the music, and then we kind of ping pong back and forth the script and the music as it's kind of being fleshed out. So, so
Questions?
if anyone has any, yeah.
You know, you'd think so.
It's on our to-do
iTunes
list.
it's the latest technology, I hear. So yeah, not yet. But the chorus of voices clamoring for it is rising. So eventually, hopefully, we'll get around to it.
Yes.
We met at Bethel College, or Bethel now University in St. Paul. So it's a Christian liberal arts college or university, and we were both studying music and doing musicals. We were both in the musical working together and had a duet, and so we were in all sorts of classes together. But actually, we were kind of a little bit. We were friends, but also arch enemies. Like, we're both very strong personalities, so we both knew how to get under each other's skin.
It works out great when you write shows together.
Yeah,
No,
totally.
just kidding. I mean, it's mostly good.
So yeah, so we were kind of frenemies for like 2 years, but
Yep.
then we started dating, and then the magic happened. You know, she couldn't resist. So that's how the tale goes. That's my side of the story.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So how long does it take? You know, for whatever reason, and probably just, well, I would say no more than a year, normally between 4 to 6 months. And usually the writing phase is in earnest about 2 to 3 months, which is actually a pretty short amount of time to put something like this together. Particularly the show like Sam's Son that we do is a full 2-hour musical with, you know, like 26 songs and a cast of 9, and it's not advisable to try to write that under a year, but we do.
Well, and normally we have ideas and thoughts that are percolating for probably a couple years. So we kind of let things see what comes forward, or bubble up to the top, as it were, just because there's so many ideas, especially he's kind of the idea man. So there's always 3 or 4 or 5 shows that he's got in the back of his mind, and then it's kind of whatever just keeps coming forward, or like I just remember really clearly this one had been kind of we had been talking about it for a while, and then people just we'd be talking with someone and they'd talk about the book of Daniel, or you know what I mean, like we just try to keep our antennas up to see what's making the most noise.
And the process starts with, I'll start researching and just really dig in, particularly, well, I mean, with any story, but with a Bible story, I'll get out commentaries and look at the historical period, and then look at other writings or other people, you know, other things that have, whether it's, again, historical or commentaries, and then start writing the script, and then start writing the lyrics, and then once I get the lyrics in a good place, then I hand off to Vanessa, and then she starts writing the music. So, yes.
Oh, that's a good question. It comes in many ways. Sometimes he has a melody with the lyrics, and then I build around that. Sometimes he just has words, or even sometimes he just has kind of smatterings of words, and then I piece together. Sometimes I noodle, and I find it. Sometimes, oh gosh. I think,
I feel like what I hear from you is she'll find a really strong musical motif, and maybe it's
Yeah.
in the piano, and then a melody, or it might be a melodic motif, and then she finds a really strong musical progression or motif underneath that, and then I feel like she says, I really love that, and I'm going to build around that.
like, I love good melodies, and we all do. We just don't, we might not know it, but we love a good melody, which is why popular songs are so popular. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but a lot of times they have really great melodies. So I love a good melody. So sometimes I'll fish and fish and fish till I can find a good melody. Or like, for instance, one of the songs in here, it's called Why Didn't You Tell Me? And he had one motif. It was like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me these things? I should have known, I should have known. And that was the only time it was sung, and then he had all these other ideas, and I was like, gosh, that's such a good motif. Like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me these things? So it's kind of like we built the song around this angry son at this dad. Like, why didn't you tell me all this stuff and this and this and this? So I think as I'm thinking it through in front of you, all of you, real time, I think I build around a good melody. So, and Stephen Sondheim, who we love, he always says, listen, you're dealing with two things, a good melody and good chordal structure underneath. He's like, that can make the most beautiful song so that everyone has to listen, because it's two things, those two things. And then, of course, if you put them together in a beautiful way, you have the third beautiful thing of them together, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
If we weren't doing what we did, we've actually had that discussion before, if we weren't doing what we did now. Something creative, like my imagination, I always have ideas going, so it would have to be something creative for me. And I also love doing my own thing, so working for someone else would be really hard. So it'd be my own thing and something creative. I said actually like doing a little food truck or something would be kind of fun. As long as it was parked somewhere nice.
I might like to get into tap dancing.
Really? All right.
I mean, sure, why
Yeah.
not?
Next time you see us, I'll pull out, and then she'll do a little tap dance, and I'll
Yeah.
start serving up some sandwiches. Yes.
Name somewhere.
Yeah.
We're so famous.
You know,
I mean, we live in Minnesota.
yeah, so
we
mostly locally.
mostly Midwest, but we
Yeah.
do come out here with our friends. We do go to Michigan,
Colorado.
we do
Yep.
every summer.
Yep.
So there are things that we do every summer, but for the
Yep.
most part, we're in the Midwest, tri-state area.
Yep.
But we will go anywhere, especially around January, February, or
Yeah,
March, around here.
We fit on all airplanes, so we are able to fly pretty much anywhere. So, and our shows don't demand much as far as bringing stuff.
But
so.
I think also what you're asking is we do these kind of shows. Theater for the Thirsty, we have like 10 shows that we do, that we travel around with. Then we do Bucket Brigade, which we do 2 shows every year.
At a theater space.
At a theater in St. Paul.
Yep.
So we do a new one that we write, and then every Valentine's season we do a marriage musical that we wrote called Till Death, a marriage musical. It's basically a story about his problems.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a really short show.